So, what are you afraid to talk about? What is something that when you start thinking about it, you get embarrassed? Or it's something that, you think that your child or your spouse or your best friend is hiding from you because they're afraid, that they'll be judged. Just imagine, finding out that you have HIV and you're saying, you know what, I really need someone to talk to, but you can't think of anyone that you feel like if you say it to them, they won't break down and cry, or B, look at you like you got an extra head and stop talking to you. That's what we're going to be talking about today is how do you deal with these actual conversations, the ones that we're trying to normalize here on Embracing the Fight. So, welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. And I've been going through thyroid cancer since December of 2022. And that's why I started, this podcast in January 2023, because people don't talk about the things, that they're going through. For instance, when I found out I had thyroid cancer, I was like, I need a break, because all these other things that are going on in my life, it's like, what is going on here? And I can recall when I was 16 years old, I used to be like, you know what, God is good because I hadn't been through anything. I don't have a testimony. I don't have any trials. I don't have this. I don't have it. But baby, at 47, I have trials, testimonies, everything else, that you can think of. So if you need something to talk about and you want to come talk to me, I'd love to have you on Embracing the Fight, because we can sit down and we can normalize this conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns together. I am looking for guests. So please send me an email to operations@diversitydesign.com, or you can reach out to me anywhere on social media at Embracing the Fight. The only place that's a little different is Instagram, and it's Embracing the Fight with an underscore at the end. So now that I've gotten the business of everything out of the way, let's talk about, those conversations. Because why is it so hard, for people to talk about the things they're going through? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because folks are judgmental. People are fickle. If, like I was saying in the beginning, if someone were to come up and say, you know what, I got HIV, that person that they're talking to is going through a series of questions and thoughts in their mind, like, one, how'd you get it? Two, I'm glad it's not me. Three, it's not a death sentence. Four, it's like, why are you telling me of all people? This person that you're telling it to, it could be pretty heavy, for them. So the question is, when you have these serious, conversations or these serious things that come into your life, what makes you, talk to one person versus, another? Because, you know, like I was saying, some people are just glad, that they aren't dealing with whatever it is, that you're trying to tell them about, or you're trying to let them know that you're dealing with, and when you have folks like that, it's almost like talking to a wall in a sense, because, well, I take that back, because a wall won't carry it and give it to someone else. Because I have seen people that were going through some things, they would tell, someone about it. And then once they heard it back, it was like, dang, I told that person in confidence and they broke, my trust. But the thing is, if you don't know the type of people that you're talking to or that you feel free to share the information with, there's no telling what they're going to do with it, where it's going to go. And sure, you can hold it in and you can say, I'm going to talk to God about it. But God does send you people, to talk you through these things. So let's talk about it like this. Let's go through it this way. What about when you're having conversations with your kids? I mean, your kids might be grown now. And you think about the times when they were young, when they were sad, and they couldn't articulate what they were going through because either A, they were embarrassed about whatever the subject was. B, they felt like, you couldn't relate to them because you're so much older than they are, you're a parent. Or the last thing was like they were already contemplating like suicide or some other negative end or impact, or just giving in to whatever, the problem was. So how do you start those conversations with your children? So a lot of people don't understand that kids will pretty much tell you anything if you give them a safe space. Like if I don't know how you, I know you can't really say, whatever you tell me, I'm not going to punish you, I'm not going to judge you, I'm not going to do X, Y, Z. But then they tell you that they killed a neighbor's dog or they stabbed a child down the street. And it's like, wait a minute, some actions have consequences. You still, have to enforce the law in a sense. You can't just be like, okay, you can tell me anything and mommy or daddy is not going to do anything. That's not always the case. That's not always the truth. But you have to figure out a way to communicate with your child so they know that it's okay to come home and tell mommy and daddy that you've been bullied. Or it's okay to come home and let them know that you lost your Apple Watch or you lost, your iPhone or you lost the lunch money or whatever it is that they gave to you that you're supposed to hold on to. But how do you do that, with a child? Think about it. You used to be a child. You hadn't always been an adult. You think about ways you say, I wish that my parents would have done X, Y, Z. And I wish, the adults around me would have done, X, Y, Z. And then you grow up doing the same thing, to your child or the children around you. You have to realize that those children are seeds of you. So they carry a lot of you in them. So the things that you wish your parents would have done, try exercising those things with your children. Now I know a lot of folks, they were like, man, my kids ain't nothing like me. I was a good child. They were bad. They bad, whatever. Nope. Still, they came from you. They've seen something, they've observed something, if it's not you, and it could be your husband, your wife, whatever. It could be, the other parent, whatever. There is a connection there that you should explore and have these open conversations with. So a lot of people, don't sit down to dinner anymore. So start pulling your family together at the dinner table and just open up the conversation with, how is your day going? Oh, tell me about something exciting that happened in school today. Is there anything that you need? And oh, just compliment the child, shower them with praise, and let them know how important they are, to you. Now, I'm not sitting there saying the kid, is telling you that they got in a fight on the playground. Don't be, cheering on, oh, did you beat them down? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the good and positive things, reinforce those. And the negative things, those are the things that you really want to understand the root. Like, where did this come from? Why is this child acting out this way? All right. So then once you get past, the conversations that you have with your kids, what are the conversations that you have with yourself? Because whatever you tell yourself is what you project onto other people, into your relationships, into your work, your job, whatever it is that you do, wherever it is that you go. So just imagine if you're telling yourself that you're overweight and you're unhappy and you're tired and you're this and you're that. And when you go, to a public place, you don't even look up to say hi to people. You're never going to meet anyone. Or you, soon as the church opens the doors up and the church is over with, you beeline to the parking lot. You don't say hi, you don't stop, you don't go for prayer, you don't do none of that. And then you wonder why nobody in the church knows who you are. Or if they see you in the grocery store and you're like, oh, hey, I go to Carmel Friendship. That's me, that's my church. And they look at you and they say, what? You go where? You don't want that to be happening. You don't want that to be the thing. You do not want that to happen. And what if, say you have joined a team, like say a softball team or something like that, and everybody on the team is all nice and they, oh, after we, have a game or whatever, we're gonna go to this restaurant and we're gonna eat and drink and be merry, and you just disappear every time. You might be a great player, but nobody likes you because it, not saying that you're a bad person, but you're not letting anyone in. And you're not doing that because of the conversation that you've had with yourself ahead of whatever activity or whatever it is that you're getting into, because the conversation that you have with yourself is what causes you to behave the way that you are when you're around other people. So let's be cognizant of what we're saying to ourselves. And what do I mean by that? So when you get up in the morning and you pray and you read your word, after you do that, what do you say to yourself? Do you even tell yourself good morning? I mean, okay, let's say your spouse, whomever, your significant other, you say good morning to them, smile, kiss them, they going about their day. Say you are at home by yourself. Kids going to school, or say there are no kids, you don't have any pets, nothing, it's just you. What do you say to yourself? Do you even look in the mirror, or do you walk past the mirror and just keep working on whatever it is that you're working on, and then you get frustrated, you get tired, and you get worn out? It's all because you haven't connected with yourself for the day. You can connect with God, you can connect with people, but how do you connect with yourself? Do you affirm the promises of God to yourself? Do you look in the mirror at yourself and say, I am beautiful, I am smart, I am kind, I am intelligent, I am purpose filled? Do you say those things? And if you don't, why not? And if you do say them, but you don't believe them, why is that? You have to be able to build yourself up so that when you do go out into the world, that you don't feel like you have to, hide yourself or mute yourself or stand in a corner or be the first one out of the door or out of the building. It's okay to be surrounded, by people. It's okay, to have friends. But when you bring those people into your life, pray for discernment so you're not, getting mad at yourself because you let the wrong person in, and it's causing you to back yourself into that same little corner where you sneaking out and you're running away from everybody, and you don't want to volunteer, you don't want to be bothered, you don't want to do anything like that. So you have to build yourself up first, because if you don't, then you'll accept the conversations and the things that are brought and told to you that you are from other people. And that's not good either. You have to build yourself from within. So then, next, what are the conversations that you have with your family? I mean, like your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, all that. Do you even talk to these people? Because I know, once you get outside of your immediate family, a lot of people don't really, have family reunions, or if they do, the family reunions are small, or they are like so far removed that nobody knows anybody anymore. And you could have a family member that is the missing puzzle piece to help you build generational wealth, that can help you to, I don't know, start a business that will allow you to employ and help the family members that aren't necessarily, doing as well as they could if they had a team of people, to help them. Because you have some folks that are great at one thing, but if they're never given the opportunity to showcase how great they are in that one thing, they'll be okay with doing mediocrity in other areas. And we want everyone in our family to function and work at their greatest potential. And the only way you can do that is if you start talking about it. You shouldn't be embarrassed that you've been working on a project for 5 years. You should be embarrassed that you didn't think that your family would love you enough to talk to you and try to help you through it. Now, I shouldn't say that. You shouldn't be embarrassed. You should just try it and see what happens. Talk to your cousins, talk to your aunts, your uncles, your mom, your dad, talk to everyone in your family. I'm not saying tell them everything about the scope of what you want to do, because what happens is when you start telling people your dreams that aren't ready for them, or they aren't necessarily at a point where they can truly understand what God has given you, they start to try to give you advice, to tell you, how you should do it. They start to discourage you because they're like, look, you've been working on this forever and you still haven't done anything with it. And I'm tired of, supporting this habit or this, whatever this is that you're trying to do to get to where you're going. And then two, you start telling them stuff. If you tell them a whole bunch of different things, then you start to look kind of sketchy. It's like, wait a minute now, this is a great idea, number 35, and we still waiting on number 1 to be done. But you still have to have those open conversations with your family, just to let them know, that you have this entrepreneurial spirit, that this is what you love, this is what you want to do, this is who you are. You are not contained in a box. You are not, trapped to be in a mundane job, to constantly go and do what other people tell you do when you hate it them and they hate you. I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. And if there's a safe place to open up, it should be with your family. Now, I know it's people out there that have major issues with their families. And I pray to the good Lord that you're able to solve those issues, because it is such a lonely world to not have anyone in your corner. Imagine going through life and having no one. And you were born into a family. You were born into a bloodline of people. And you out here living in this world alone because you can't have these conversations. Y'all, we got to start talking about it. I don't care what it is. It could be the fact that you've lost your job and you have nothing. You won't be the first one and you won't be the last because those sorts of things tend to happen. And when they do, you need to have someone that you could lean on and someone you could talk to. They may not be able to give you the money that you need to get you on your feet, but they may know some resources that you can tap into to help you get to where you can get on your feet. And then, that may end up being your purpose. You might have to go through something that is going to tear you down to the studs in order for you to be built back up so you can teach someone else how to do it. Because sure, it's easy to be in a mansion on a hill and telling folks down in the valley, you need to get a job, you need to make some money, you need to do this, you need to do that. But nobody understood how you got, to that mansion. But just imagine if you were in that mansion, you ended up in the valley. And then somehow you took step by step by step and made it back to that mansion. Those steps from the valley to that mansion on that hill are valuable. And those are the conversations that we need to have. We need to get out of the thought process that we just have to tell people about the good things that we've done and all the joy and all the grace and all the no, you have to start telling people where it hurt. And the hurt is what caused you to get here. So after you finish those conversations with your family, what kind of conversation do you have, with your friends? Now, I am blessed to say that I have friends that I've had for over 40 years. I still have friends from kindergarten, people that, know everything about me. And I have some of the best friends ever, like since college. And when I say I can call them up in the middle of the night and talk about anything, I can be like, I can call them up and be like, hey, you know what? I can't go to sleep. I see it's a light outside my window. And I know good and well that it's like a street light or something like that. I know nobody's out there. But I mean, I can just call my friends and say some stupid stuff like that. And they're just like, okay. And then we'll have a whole conversation, 2-3 hours about absolutely nothing because they understand that, I live pretty much, by myself in a sense because I don't have kids. I'm not married, none of that. But sometimes it'll follow me that I just want to talk. And I'm not going to call my mom and dad and wake them up in the middle of the night. And then, my sister, because they get up early and stuff. My brother, they working weird out. I'm going to bother them. I'm going to bother people I know that work from home or own their own business, that kind of thing. I bother them because they love me and they know that my unorganized, or should I say my organized chaos is something that has to be discussed in order for me to move forward. I know they probably, when they listen to this, they're gonna be like, yeah, sometimes, we just gotta let her call and talk and, get that out. But then they know that they have that in me. So what kind of friend are you? What type conversations are you having, with your friends? What are you saying? Or are you one of these people that just gets on the phone and talks about superficial stuff and talks about superficial people and things? Because that's not really friendship. Friendship is something that you build on, something that you can grow, the conversation that you have so that when you do go through something, you know that the substance of what your friend has to say has value. Because what's the point of having people that's, always hanging with you when you can pop bottles and you can go to the club, you could, shop and buy whatever you want to buy. And then all of a sudden you have nothing. Those friends ain't gonna have much to say to you because they still got whatever it is they had, unless you were the one who was paying for everything. And if that was the case, then they definitely not coming to you because now you broke. So what conversations are you having with your friends to know what type of friend they'll be when you end up needing someone? Or what, like I said, what conversations are you having with yourself in order for you to be the type of friend they need when they're going through something? Because it's a two-way street. It's not one way. You can't expect someone to always be there to listen to everything that you have. And then once you finish, you're like, okay, I got to go buy a click. Hey, who does that? You know? And I guess it's not that anymore, sister. Yeah, that. And that, being able to hang up on someone back in the day was more powerful. Just hear that. Bam, when you hang the phone up, and now it's just a boop. Like, let me get back on topic. So, when you are a friend, a true friend, you should be able to talk about any and everything without judgment. Sure, you're gonna sit here and say, "Well, what happens when you and that friend ain't friends no more?" And they gonna run and tell, all your business, this, that, and the other. Well, if you were a true friend of them, you got all their dirt too. I'm not saying have a dirt slinging match, but they're gonna think, twice about throwing you under the bus because they know that they're dirt too. So 9 times out of 10, people don't get that petty. When friendships break up, they just kind of go on about their business. Now they might tell why you guys aren't friends anymore, but they're not going to tell, all the dirt, that you did whenever you did what you did. Because the reason people do that is because it's what's hurting them at the moment. Old things aren't things that friends bring to the surface when you have shown yourself to not have good character, when you have hurt them in a certain way. And if you want to truly have a conversation with someone that you hurt, just be open and honest about why you said what you said or why you did what you did, because you meant it when you said it. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, I just said it in a moment of hurt, or I was drunk, or I was this." Mm-mm. You know what they say about being drunk? That's liquid courage. So it's something that you already wanted to say. You just didn't know how to articulate it. And when you got alcohol in your system, it allowed you to speak freely on what was in your heart. So let's not, try to pretend like, "Oh no, we would have never said it. Oh no, we didn't think that." That stuff doesn't just get manufactured in your mind when you start drinking. Stuff don't just come like that. It's always been there. It's inherent. You just been holding on to it for such a time as this. So with that being said, what conversations are you having with God? Because he knows and he sees, everything. And he's lined up everything. He's repairing things in your life, the stuff that's hurting you, the stuff that's helping you. He is fixing it. He is working on it and he is working on you. He's doing all of this stuff, right? But is it based off the prayers that you're having, or is it based off the thought? I mean, what type of conversation are you having with God? What are you saying to him? Because he's ever present. He's here. He's listening. He is right here. Like, you can't hide from God. You can't pretend like something happened a certain way when it didn't, because he's there. He knows. So what are you saying to God? What are you doing? Is it a one-way conversation where you're just asking for things? Because if it is, that's not that that's not it. Sure, of course, you can ask God for things, but sometimes you should just say, "Lord, what is it that you would have me to do? Let thy will be done." Because once you start doing that, you'll notice that all the other conversations that I mentioned, they'll become easier. Life will become easier because he'll give you discernment. He'll give you peace. He will give you power. He will give you strength. He will give you all these things to help you navigate this life. But if you are silent and you are just hoping that God will fix it, you're just hoping that he'll do it. Sure. Yeah, he will. He can. He chooses to. But why not ask for favor instead? Why not have the spirit of Hezekiah? Hezekiah knew he was about to die. He just said, "Give me a little more time." God granted it to him. That was a conversation. It wasn't a thought. It was a conversation. Speak the words as though they are so, right? Speak life. Talk. Open your mouth. Let the words of my mouth be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength, my redeemer. So, what are you saying? What type of conversations are you having with God? Are you saying his word to him? Are you asking him for things? Or are you presenting yourself as a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable in His sight. What are you doing when you have these conversations? Are you always crying? Because, I just wonder if when God hears me pray, what is He saying? He's like, oh, here she come again. She coming to ask for some, or, oh, no, 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 no. I need to hear what this one is coming to me with today, because she prayed for her friend yesterday. She asked me to stop by this person's house. She asked me what she could do to help make this person's life for this time better. She asked me how she could be a vessel. So what are you saying when you're talking about what is your conversation like? So when you start looking into these different conversations, just know that there are always three, maybe four parts of it. You have an emotional piece that you're feeding into in a conversation. There's this mental piece. There's a spiritual. There is a physical piece. And so emotionally, some folks will call you crying. Some folks will call you when they're at the end of their rope and you are the last knot in the rope. And they're hanging on because they think that you have the answer. Make time for those people, because you never know when your rope may have a knot in it and it's not on the end that you need. And someone else is going to have to save you. Someone else is going to have to pull you up to get you out of that point. Because think about those folks who committed suicide, not the ones who thought of committing suicide. Because 9 times out of 10, the people who thought about committing suicide talked to someone. They had a conversation, and they're here today. The ones who committed suicide were the ones who didn't have anyone to talk to, or they thought they didn't have anyone to talk to because they didn't have that conversation. So think about it. Start having those conversations. I know you always hear you don't want people to dump all of the negative pain and the harmful and hurtful things onto you, because you can, attract and carry those things. But you know what? You know how you release yourself of those things? You pray. You give it to God. You ask Him to do it, to take it, because you can't do it in your power. Because if you could, you realize, if I could be God, I would be exhausted, because I'd be going out healing folks here, and I'd be filling folks' bank accounts up. Man, I would even help out some of these women who's like, oh, my stomach is fat and my thighs, but I'd be like, bam, folks would be walking around fine, rich, happy, and married forever. If I could be God. But do you realize how exhausted I would be? Because somebody would tell somebody about a woman that is touching folks and she's healing and doing all these things. So think about it. Once they say, let me tell you about a man, how all those folks lined up, to get healing from Jesus. Just imagine. But since I don't have that power, and since I can't do, anything like that, start being the person that at least listens, that at least opens the door for the conversation. Mean, something as trivial as a woman just wanting to say, you know what, I'm having a hard time losing weight. Or a man, because men, they want to be fine too. They want to, look good. They want to, smell good, talk good, all that. They want that as well. So when a person opens up to you and tells you that they feel like they're overweight, it's not nice of you to jump right in there and say, well, stop eating so much, or stop eating all that sugar, or stop doing, or when you used to walk every day, why you don't? No, you don't. When a person gives you their pain point, you don't poke it. You don't slap it off the table. You don't shine a big light on it. You listen. And then you ask them, how, can I help you with that? Are you committed, to doing something about it? Because if you aren't, there are some consequences behind it. So why would you attack a person when they are sharing something about themselves physically? Because a lot of physical things people can't change. Because I've watched a lot of those, what is it, the Pop the Balloon shows, and there are some great guys that are on there. And you hear those guys sound so defeated when they say the women are going down the line and the ones they really want, it's like, oh, he's not my height, he's too short. And then you look at the woman, she's like 5'2", and the man was like, he's like 5'7", like, man, what do you want? He's like 5 whole inches taller than you. Why do you want someone 6 feet? That. Yeah, I know. I was one of the folks that liked taller guys, but I wanted them to be taller than me. I mean, he didn't have to be like 6'6" or anything like that. I know I'm 5'8", 5'9", somewhere around there. So it's like I would prefer to have someone who's slightly taller than me. But to make a person feel less than because their height is wrong. Because it's not like they say, oh Lord, let me be, shorter than average. Or let me be average. Nobody asked for that. It's just like me, y'all looking at my hair, you see it's curly, it has its own mind, it does what it wants to do. I could straighten it, I could do, other stuff to it. But because I love my natural hair, I'm not gonna change it for anyone else's thoughts or opinion because this is the way that God made me. I don't have to apologize for it. I don't have to hide for it. I don't have to feel bad about it. I mean, even some days it looks like I have laid down and got up and not done a thing when I actually have put water on it and put the curling, shine and everything on it to make it, fluffy and soft. But it's like no one knows what you go through when it's something you can't change, when it's a physical attribute you can't change. So the other piece that you have to think about when you're having these conversations is where do people really stand spiritually? Some people like to say, that they love God. And then some other folks say I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. But then at the same time, it's like, what does that even mean for you? Sure, spirituality and religion are, quite different because you connect directly to God with spirituality, but you understand that there are different religions and people believe different things. So, in order for you to connect with someone, you need to understand, where they are and where they stand in that aspect because that can cause a lot of issues in your household if you are believing two different things, if you're unequally yoked. It's very hard to have those kinds of conversations. But at the same time, we're adults. We can have those conversations. You can be, in two different places when it comes to religion or to spirituality. But if you are unequally yoked and you do not have the conversation ahead of time, that can be an issue for you later on. So start having these conversations, open up, be able to talk about things. Because if you can't talk about these things, the thoughts that occur in silence are the things that are causing whatever's going on in your life to break down. So, whatever you're doing right now, the next conversation that you have, just ask the person that you talk to, am I a good person to talk to? Do you trust me? Do I give good advice? Do you believe that if you were going through something at work or something that required um, additional intelligence or information, that you could come to me? What type of conversations do you trust me with? What do you trust me with? And then once you figure that out, you'll know why you've been having the conversations that you've been having with the people that you're trying to have them with. For instance, when you ask your kids, do you trust me? Do you think that mommy has wisdom or daddy has wisdom? Do I give you a safe space to speak your mind? And if they start saying no, don't get offended. Don't get upset. Just ask them, what can I do to change this for you? Because then that opens the door. The child then can start feeling safe. They can start saying, you know what, they really do care about, how I feel and what I think. And they're not just ignoring what I have to say. So try it. Try it today. And then if you do try it, I would love if you all would comment about it. Because This is something that people just don't really think about. Is the actual meat of the conversation. Because, conversations can be superficial and there could be no feeling, no nothing, and it's just a feel good conversation. But when those conversations go deep and they heal, then those conversations really matter and they need to be had. So that's all I want to talk about today. Nothing too deep. Just make sure you're opening up and you're having these conversations and you're creating a safe space and you are moving forward. You're taking action from these conversations and don't just sit on what people tell you. Be the one that prays. Be the one that truly cares. And you will continue to help us embrace the fight, whatever that fight is. And as always, you all, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to watch this episode of Embracing the Fight. I want y'all to have an absolutely amazing day.